The monitoring station floated quietly in space above the dead world that used to belong to the Zarathi people. Commander Vexneal sat at his control panel, his 8 tentacles moving nervously as he looked at the sensor readings again. He had checked them 3 times already, but the information stayed the same. It was impossible, but the machines didn't lie. His assistant, a creature made of living crystal, glowed with fear. Her light changed from blue to yellow as she spoke. "Sir, we are detecting multiple quantum signatures. They match the old warnings from the ancient texts. These patterns look like the myth ships." Vexneal's 3 eyes grew wide. For 10,000 years, everyone in the galaxy had laughed at these stories. They were just old tales meant to scare children. Stories about creatures that walked on 2 legs, who could survive anything, whose ships moved faster than light itself. Stories about humans who could burn entire star systems when they got angry. But humans were supposed to be dead. They were supposed to have never existed at all. The sensor readings got worse. First, there were 5 signatures. Then 20 appeared on the screen. Then hundreds filled the display with red dots. Far away, on a ship called the USS Retribution, Captain Jack Morrison stood on his bridge. His face showed the marks of many hard years. The blue light from the tactical displays made him look older than his 50 years. Next to him stood Commander Lisa Grant, a woman who had spent her whole life preparing for this moment. She checked the positions of all their ships with the skill of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. "Captain, all ships report. They are ready," Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Jack could hear the excitement hiding underneath. They had searched for 15 years. 15 long years of following clues through dead star systems, listening to old communication posts, and tracking down every lead they could find. Jack looked at the main screen. It showed the Zarathi colony ships hiding in the nebula ahead. The Zarathi thought they were safe. They thought nobody would ever find them after what they did to Earth. They thought humanity was gone forever. "They glassed our planet," Jack said, quietly. "They killed 15 billion people. They hunted our survivors through space like animals. And then they told everyone we never existed." Lisa nodded. "Yes, sir. They did all of that." "Signal the fleet," Jack ordered. "Tell them it's time. The galaxy forgot why they used to fear the dark spaces between the stars. We're going to remind them." Back at the monitoring station, Vexneal's tentacles shook as he tried to send a message to the Galactic Council. The communication systems were working, but nobody wanted to believe what he was saying. "This is Monitoring Station 7, he said into the transmitter. "We have confirmed contact with unknown vessels. They match human specifications from the old wars. Request immediate council meeting." The response came back quickly. "Station 7, stop sending joke messages. Humans are a myth. They never existed." Vexneal wanted to scream. He turned to his crystal assistant. "Send them the sensor data. All of it. Make them look at it." On the USS Retribution, Lieutenant Paul Rodriguez sat at his intelligence station. The young man had learned 12 alien languages in preparation for this day. His screen showed him all the alien communications in the area. The ship's computer, which the crew called Oracle, translated everything in real time. "Captain, the aliens are starting to panic," Paul reported. "Half of them think we're a hoax, the other half are terrified." "Good," Jack said. "Fear is the beginning of wisdom." Ensign Amy Chen looked up from her communication station. She was the youngest person on the bridge at just 25, but she was the best at her job. "Sir, I'm picking up a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're calling an emergency meeting." "How long until they gather?" Jack asked. "About 6 hours, sir." Jack smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited a very long time for justice. "Perfect. That gives us time to deal with our Zarathi friends first." The human fleet moved through space like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Where alien ships had to push against the fabric of space, human ships seemed to slip through it like fish through water. They used a technology that the aliens said was impossible, but humans had always been good at doing impossible things. Commander Kyle Johnson stood in the armory of the USS Vengeance, checking his team's equipment. Around him, 30 Marines prepared their gear. They had trained for this mission every Day for 5 years. Listen up, Kyle said to his team. The Zarathi killed our families, they destroyed our world. But we're not going to kill them all. We're better than that. We're going to capture their leaders and make them stand trial. We're going to show the galaxy that humans believe in justice, not revenge. Private Helen Martinez raised her hand. Sir, what if they resist? Then we stop them, Kyle answered. But we use minimum force. We're not monsters. We're humans. Private Joe Turner checked his weapon one more time. The Zarathi called us monsters, sir. They said we were a plague that would destroy the galaxy. Kyle looked at the young soldier. And that's exactly why we have to prove them wrong. We have to show everyone that humans can be tough and merciful at the same time. Back on the bridge of the USS Retribution, Jack watched as his fleet surrounded the Zarathi colony ships. The aliens hadn't even seen them coming. Their sensors couldn't detect human ships until it was too late. Sir, the lead Zarathi ship is trying to run, Lisa reported. Let them try, Jack said. They'll learn what we learned when they hunted us. There's nowhere in this galaxy they can hide from us now. The Zarathi ship's engines flared to life, but before it could move, 3 human vessels appeared in front of it. They had jumped through space in an instant, blocking any escape route. On the Zarathi ship, Captain Krextor felt something he hadn't felt in many years. He felt afraid. He had been at Earth when they destroyed it. He had given the order to fire, the weapons that turned the blue planet into glass. He had listened to the humans' last transmissions, their cries for mercy, and he had laughed. Now, as he looked at the human ships surrounding him, he wasn't laughing anymore. This is impossible, he said to his crew. We confirmed they were all dead. We destroyed every human ship. We hunted down every survivor. His navigation officer, a creature with 6 arms, turned to him. Sir, these are not the same ships from 15 years ago. These are new. These are more advanced. Krextor's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. How could they build new ships? They have no shipyards. They have no planets. They have nothing. Sir, his communication officer interrupted. The humans are sending us a message. Put it on screen, Krextor ordered. Jack Morrison's face appeared on the display. To the Zarathi, he looked like death itself. 2 eyes facing forward like a predator, skin with no scales or fur for protection, and that terrible human smile that showed too many teeth. Captain Krextor, Jack said slowly. I've waited 15 years to meet you. You killed my wife. You killed my children. You killed my world. The galaxy thinks humans are myths now. They think we're just stories to scare children. But you and I know better, don't we? We're very real. And we've come to collect what you owe us. Krextor tried to speak, but no words came out. Jack continued. You're going to surrender your ship. You're going to face trial for genocide, and you're going to tell the galaxy the truth about what you did to Earth. If you try to run or fight, we will stop you. But unlike you, we'll give you a chance to surrender. You have 1 minute to decide. The screen went dark. Krextor looked around his bridge. His crew was terrified. They had never imagined this day would come. They had believed the humans were gone forever. Sir, his weapons officer said quietly. What do we do? Krextor closed all 4 of his eyes. We surrender. May the void have mercy on us because the humans won't. But he was wrong about that. The humans would show mercy. That was what would terrify the galaxy most of all. The great meeting chamber of the Galactic Council was a perfect sphere floating in space. Inside, representatives from 47 different species gathered in the air at different angles. Some floated near the ceiling, some stood on the walls, and others hovered in the middle. Each species used their own gravity field, making the room look like chaos to anyone not used to it. High Chancellor Zartek called the meeting to order. He was a large creature covered in green scales, with 6 legs and 2 arms. His voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly into every language by the advanced computers. We have called this emergency meeting because of an impossible situation, Zartek began. Our monitoring stations have detected ships that match human design. As you all know, this should not be possible. The Altarian delegates started glowing brighter. Altarians were beings made of living light, and they glowed more when they were upset. This has to be a mistake. The humans were destroyed in the Great Purge 15 years ago. The Zarathi showed us the recordings. We all saw Earth burn. I saw those recordings too, said the Vegan ambassador, a creature that looked like a giant purple flower with eyes. The Zarathi were very thorough. They hunted down every human ship, every colony, every survivor. The humans are extinct. Zartek touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed hundreds of ships moving through space. The ships didn't look like anything the Council had seen before. They were sleek, dark, and moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. These images were taken 6 hours ago, Zartek said. These ships appeared near the Zarathi refugee fleet. They surrounded the colony ships before our friends could escape. The chamber erupted in noise. Every species started talking at once in their own language. The translation computers struggled to keep up with all the voices. Order, Zartek shouted. We must remain calm. The Rigelian representative, a being made of living metal, spoke up. If these are really humans, we need to mobilize our fleets immediately. The old stories say humans are dangerous when they're angry. And after what happened to their world, they must be very angry. On the USS Retribution, Captain Jack Morrison watched the Council meeting through a hacked feed. The humans had broken into the Council's communication systems years ago, but had waited until now to reveal themselves. Look at them panic, Lieutenant Paul Rodriguez said from his station. They're terrified of us. Good, Jack replied. They should be. They stood by and did nothing while the Zarathi committed genocide. Some of them even helped. Commander Lisa Grant studied her tactical display. Captain, our boarding teams have secured all the Zarathi colony ships. We have their entire leadership in custody. Excellent. Any casualties? None, sir. The Zarathi surrendered immediately when they saw our Marines. Jack nodded. That was good. He didn't want unnecessary deaths. The humans had come for justice, not slaughter. Amy, Jack said to his communication officer, open a channel to the Council. Let's introduce ourselves. Amy Chen's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Channel open, Captain, you're live. Jack stood up straight and faced the camera. His image appeared in the Council chamber as a giant hologram, causing several delegates to scream in fear. Members of the Galactic Council, Jack began, his voice calm but cold. I am Captain Jack Morrison of the United Earth Remnant Fleet. I bring greetings from the 15 billion humans you allowed to die. The chamber went completely silent. Even the natural sounds of the various species stopped. They all stared at the human image in shock. Jack continued, For 15 years you've told yourselves that we never existed, that we were just myths and legends. But here's the truth. Some of us survived. We hid in the dark corners of the galaxy. We rebuilt our strength. And we never forgot what was done to us. Zartek found his voice first. Captain Morrison, the Council had no part in the attack on Earth. That was the Zarathi acting alone. Liar, Jack said simply. We have recovered the Zarathi databases. We have all their communications with this Council. We know you voted to classify humans as a galactic threat. We know you gave the Zarathi permission to handle us. Lisa Grant appeared next to Jack in the hologram. We have evidence that 32 of the 47 species here voted in favor of our extermination. The rest abstained. Not one of you voted against it. The Centauri delegate, a tall, thin creature with blue skin, tried to explain. You have to understand, humans were expanding too fast. Your technology was advancing at an impossible rate. Our scientists predicted you would dominate the galaxy within 200 years. So you decided to kill us all? Jack asked. Every man, woman, and child? That was your solution? It was a difficult decision, the Centauri said weakly. No, Jack replied. It was genocide, and now you're going to face the consequences. Back in the Council chamber, panic was spreading. Several of the smaller species representatives were trying to leave, but they found the exit sealed. You can't leave, Jack said. Not until we've had our discussion. The Proximan ambassador, a creature that looked like a giant insect, spoke up. What do you want from us? Revenge? Are you going to destroy our worlds like we destroyed yours? Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, and every alien in the room shivered. If we wanted revenge, your worlds would already be burning. Our ships were surrounding your home planets before we even revealed ourselves to you. The room erupted in chaos again. Representatives started checking their communication devices, trying to contact their homeworlds. One by one, they received the same message. Human ships had appeared in orbit around every major planet in Council space. Impossible, the Altarian delegate flickered. We have the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. How did you get past them? You really don't understand, do you? Lisa said. While you were congratulating yourselves on wiping us out, we were learning. We studied every piece of alien technology we could find. We improved on it. We made it better. Your sensors can't detect us because we're using technology you haven't even imagined yet. Captain Daniel White appeared in the hologram next to Jack and Lisa. He commanded the USS Vengeance, one of the most powerful ships in the human fleet. I'm currently in orbit around the Vegan homeworld, Daniel said. I could destroy their capital city with one shot. But I won't. Do you know why? The Vegan ambassador was shaking with fear. Why? Because humans aren't monsters, Daniel said. We're capable of mercy, even for those who showed us none. But mercy isn't the same as forgiveness. You will all face justice for what you did. Jack took control of the conversation again. Here's what's going to happen. Every species that voted for our extermination will stand trial. The evidence will be presented to the entire galaxy. Everyone will know what you did. You can't put the entire council on trial, Zartek protested. It would destroy the galactic government. The galactic government is already destroyed, Jack replied. It died the day you voted to commit genocide. We're going to build something better. Something that actually protects the innocent instead of murdering them for being different. Admiral Patricia Walker now appeared in the hologram. She was older than the others, with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too much death. I'm Admiral Walker, she said. I command the Earth Remnant Fleet. We have 500 ships currently deployed across Council space. Each one is more advanced than anything you have. We could conquer the galaxy if we wanted to, but we don't want to conquer. We want justice. What kind of justice? Zartek asked carefully. The kind where the guilty are punished and the innocent are protected, Patricia replied. The kind where genocide is never again considered an acceptable solution. The kind where species are judged by their actions, not feared for their potential. The council members looked at each other nervously. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had never imagined their power could be challenged like this. You have two choices, Jack said. You can cooperate with the trials and help us build a better galaxy, or you can resist and learn what happens when humans really get angry. So far we've been polite. We've been civilized, but don't mistake our restraint for weakness. To make his point, one of the human ships near the council station fired a single shot. A small asteroid nearby simply ceased to exist. It didn't explode or break apart. It just vanished, erased from reality by a weapon the aliens couldn't understand. That was a warning shot, Jack said. The next one won't be aimed at a rock. You have 24 hours to decide. Choose wisely. The hologram vanished, leaving the council in darkness and fear. For the first time in their history, they were not the ones in control. The humans they had tried to destroy had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Zarathi colony ship Eternal Sanctuary had been hiding in the Crimson Nebula for 3 years. Captain Krextor thought they were safe there. The nebula's radiation would hide them from any sensors, and the dangerous gravity fields would stop most ships from entering. He had personally chosen this hiding spot after the attack on Earth. Krextor remembered that day clearly. He had stood on the bridge of his warship and given the order to fire. The weapons had turned Earth's blue oceans to steam, and its green lands to glass. He had watched cities with billions of people disappear in seconds. The humans had sent messages, begging for mercy, asking why this was happening. He had turned off the sound so he wouldn't have to hear them. Now, as alarms screamed through his ship, Krextor felt fear creeping up his spine. The proximity sensors showed ships approaching, but that was impossible. Nothing could navigate the nebula safely. His second-in-command, a younger Zarathi named Vrexneil, rushed onto the bridge. "Captain, we're detecting multiple contacts. They're moving through the gravity fields like they're not even there." "What kind of ships?" Krextor asked, though he already knew the answer. "Unknown configuration, sir, but their energy signatures match the warnings from the monitoring stations." "Sir, I think they're human ships." Krextor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "That's impossible. The humans are extinct. We made sure of it." On the USS Vengeance, Lieutenant Commander Susan Baker watched her tactical display with satisfaction. The human ships were closing in on the Zarathi colony ship like a pack of wolves surrounding a deer. "Target is attempting to power up their engine," she reported to Captain Daniel White. Daniel leaned back in his command chair. He was younger than most captains at 35, but he had earned his position through skill and determination. His parents had died on Earth. His sister had been on one of the colony ships the Zarathi hunted down. He had every reason to hate the aliens in front of him. "They showed no mercy to our colony ships," Susan said quietly. She had lost family too. Every human in the fleet had lost someone. "No, they didn't," Daniel agreed. "They destroyed ships full of children. They laughed while they did it." The bridge was silent for a moment. Everyone was thinking about the recordings they had found. The Zarathi had recorded their attacks as entertainment. They had shared videos of human ships exploding, of escape, pods being destroyed, of colonies being burned, but we're not them. Daniel finally said, "We're humans. We're better than them. Disable their engines and weapons. Prepare boarding teams. They'll face trial for their crimes." Susan nodded and began giving orders. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, something that amazed and terrified the aliens. Human crews didn't need to talk to work together. They seemed to know what each other was thinking. The USS Vengeance fired a single precise shot. A beam of energy hit the Zarathi ship's engine section. The engines died instantly, but the ship itself was undamaged. Another shot disabled their weapons. A third took out their shields. On the Eternal Sanctuary, Krextor watched helplessly as his ship was surgically disabled. The humans weren't trying to destroy them. They were capturing them. "Sir, they're requesting communication," his communication officer said. "Put them on screen," Krextor ordered. Daniel White's face appeared on the display. To Krextor, the human looked calm and controlled, which was somehow more terrifying than rage would have been. "Captain Krextor," Daniel said. "I'm Captain Daniel White of the USS Vengeance. You're probably wondering how we found you." Krextor didn't answer. His throat was too dry to speak. Daniel continued. "You see, when you destroyed Earth, some of our scientists were off-world. They survived, and they've spent the last 15 years developing new technology. We can track the quantum signature of your engines across the entire galaxy. There's nowhere you can hide from us." "What do you want?" Krextor managed to ask. "Justice," Daniel replied simply. "You're going to stand trial for genocide. You're going to answer for every human life you took. And if we refuse?" Daniel's expression didn't change. "Then we'll take you anyway. But I'd prefer you surrender. It would show the galaxy that even genocidal monsters can choose to face justice." "Commander." Kyle Johnson was suiting up with his boarding team in the USS Vengeance's armory. His Marines were the best humanity had. They had trained for years for missions like this. "Remember," Kyle told his team, "we're not here for revenge. We're here to arrest war criminals. Keep your emotions in check." Private Helen Martinez checked her armor's systems. "Sir, what if they resist?" "Then we subdue them with minimum force," Kyle answered. "Set your weapons to stun. We want them alive to stand trial." Private Joe Turner was looking at pictures on his datapad. They were images of Earth before the attack. Blue oceans, green forests, cities full of life. "It's hard not to hate them, sir." Kyle understood. He had the same pictures saved. "I know, Turner. But hate won't bring Earth back. Justice might help us heal. Revenge will just make us like them." The boarding pods launched from the human ships. They moved too fast for the Zarathis, remaining defenses to target. Within seconds, they had attached to the colony ship's hull. Kyle led his team through the breach. The Zarathi crew members they encountered dropped their weapons immediately. They had heard the stories about human soldiers. Stories about beings that could survive injuries that would kill any other species, that could fight for days without rest, that never gave up. The Marines moved through the ship efficiently. They weren't brutal, but they weren't gentle either. Every Zarathi was scanned, identified, and restrained. The ship's database was copied. Evidence was collected. Kyle reached the bridge with his team. Krextor was sitting in his command chair, surrounded by his officers. They all looked defeated. "Captain Krextor," Kyle said, "you're under arrest for crimes against humanity, specifically for the genocide of 15 billion humans and the destruction of Earth." Krextor stood slowly. "I was following orders. The council said you were a threat." "Just following orders?" Kyle repeated. "That's what they all say. It wasn't an excuse then, and it's not an excuse now." As the Zarathi were led away, Kyle noticed something. Many of the aliens on the ship were young, born after Earth's destruction. They looked terrified but also confused. They had been told humans were monsters who would eat them alive. Instead, they were seeing disciplined soldiers who treated even their enemies with basic dignity. One young Zarathi, barely an adult, spoke to Private Martinez. "You're not killing us?" Helen looked at the young alien. "No, we're not killers. We're soldiers. There's a difference. But we were told humans would destroy anyone who opposed them." "You were told wrong," Helen replied. "We fight when we have to. We protect those who can't protect themselves. And we bring justice to those who commit crimes. That's what humans." To back on the USS Retribution, Captain Jack Morrison was receiving reports from across the galaxy. Human teams had captured 17 Zarathi colony ships so far. Each one had surrendered without major resistance. "Sir," Paul Rodriguez reported from his station, "we're intercepting council communications. They're debating whether to accept our terms." "What are they saying?" Jack asked. "About half want to fight. They think we're bluffing about our capabilities. The other half want to negotiate. They're terrified of what we might do." Lisa Grant looked up from her tactical display. "Captain, the USS Phoenix has located the main Zarathi fleet. Admiral Walker is asking for permission to engage." Jack thought for a moment. The main Zarathi fleet had over 100 ships. It was the force that had destroyed Earth. Taking them would send a clear message to the galaxy. "Tell Admiral Walker she has permission," Jack said. "But remind her we want prisoners, not corpses." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than an hour. The human ships appeared out of nowhere, moving faster than the Zarathi could track. Human weapons disabled ship after ship with surgical precision. Not a single Zarathi ship was destroyed, but none could fight or flee. Admiral Patricia Walker stood on the bridge of the USS Phoenix, watching as the last Zarathi warship surrendered. These were the ships that had glassed Earth. These were the weapons that had killed billions. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported. "All enemy ships are disabled. Boarding teams are moving in." Patricia nodded. "Good. Make sure they collect all the data from their computers. I want evidence of every crime they committed." As the Zarathi crews were taken into custody, something unexpected happened. Some of the younger Zarathi officers began providing information voluntarily. They told the humans about other ships, about hidden bases, about war crimes they had witnessed. "Why are you telling us this?" Kyle asked one young Zarathi officer. Brown, Alien's four eyes looked at the floor. "Because what we did was wrong. I was taught that humans were monsters, but we were the ones who committed genocide. We were the monsters." This began happening across the fleet. Younger Zarathi, who had grown up with the guilt of what their species had done, started cooperating with the humans. They wanted to atone for their people's crimes. The galaxy watched in amazement as humans systematically captured every Zarathi military ship without destroying a single one. It was a display of power and restraint that none of them had expected. The hunt for justice had begun, and the humans were showing the galaxy some. Deep inside the USS Retribution, Admiral Patricia Walker sat in a secure room surrounded by holographic displays. For the past 48 hours, she had been reviewing files recovered from the Zarathi databases. What she found changed everything. The humans thought they knew about Earth's destruction. The files were extensive. The Zarathi had kept records of everything, including all their communications with the Galactic Council. As Patricia read through them, her face grew harder and her eyes colder. She opened a secure channel to Captain Jack Morrison. "Jack, you need to see this immediately. Bring Lisa and your senior staff. This is bigger than we thought." 20 minutes. Later, Jack entered the secure room with Commander Lisa Grant, Lieutenant Paul Rodriguez, and Ensign Amy Chen. They sat around the table as Patricia activated the main display. "The Zarathi didn't act alone," Patricia said without preamble. "The attack on Earth was sanctioned by the Galactic Council." The room went silent. Jack's hands clenched into fists. "Show me." Patricia brought up a series of documents. They were translated communications between the Council and the Zarathi Military Command. The first was dated 2 years before Earth's destruction. "This is from High Chancellor Zartek to the Zarathi Supreme Commander," Patricia read. "The human situation has been discussed at length. Their expansion rate exceeds all projections. Their technological advancement is unprecedented. At their current rate, they will surpass all Council species within 100 cycles." Lisa leaned forward. "They were afraid of us." "It gets worse," Patricia said. She brought up another document. "This is the official Council vote on the human question. 32 species voted to classify humans as an existential threat to galactic stability. 15 abstained. None voted against." Paul was reading ahead on his own display. "They called us a plague. They said we would destabilize the galaxy's balance of power that had existed for 10,000 years. Here's the worst part," Patricia said, bringing up a final document. "This is the order authorizing the Zarathi to solve the human problem by any means necessary. It's signed by every member of the Council leadership." Jack stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the Zarathi colony ship surrounded by human vessels. They all knew, every one of them knew what was going to happen to Earth, and they approved it. "There's more," Patricia said. "I found records of Council species providing technology and intelligence to the Zarathi. The Altarians gave them the location of all our colonies. The Vegans provided advanced weapons. The Centauri helped jam our distress signals so no one would hear us calling for help." Amy Chen, usually quiet in meetings, spoke up. "They didn't just allow genocide, they actively participated in it." Jack turned back to face his staff. "Change of plans. We're not just putting the Zarathi on trial. We're putting the entire Galactic Council on trial." In the Council chambers, High Chancellor Zartek was trying to maintain order. The representatives were in full panic. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Human ships had appeared at every major Council world. They weren't attacking, just watching, but their presence was a clear threat. "We must remain calm," Zartek said for the 10th time. "The humans have said they want justice, not revenge. We can negotiate with them." "Negotiate?" The Rigelian representative's metal form rang with discord. "They have us surrounded. They have technology we don't understand. What could we possibly negotiate?" Before Zartek could answer, every display in the chamber activated. Jack Morrison's face appeared, but this time he wasn't alone. Admiral Patricia Walker stood beside him, along with dozens of other human officers. "Members of the Galactic Council," Jack began. "We have finished reviewing the evidence from the Zarathi databases. We now know the truth about Earth's destruction." The chamber fell silent. Every representative knew what was coming. "You all voted to exterminate humanity," Jack continued. "You provided weapons, intelligence, and support to the Zarathi. You are all guilty of genocide." Zartek tried to respond. "Captain Morrison, you must understand the context. Your species was expanding so rapidly." "We were exploring," Jack interrupted. "We were meeting new species. We were trading, learning, growing, and you decided to kill us for it." Patricia stepped forward. We've prepared a full report of the Council's crimes. Every communication, every vote, every secret deal, the entire galaxy is going to know what you did. The Vegan ambassador's petals wilted in fear. You're going to destroy us all. No, Jack said. We're going to put you on trial. Public trials, broadcast to every inhabited system. The galaxy will see the evidence and judge for themselves. This will cause chaos. The Altarian delegate flickered. The Council maintains order across thousands of systems. Without us, there will be war. Lisa Grant appeared on the screen. The Council's order was built on lies and murder. It needs to end. We'll help build something better, something based on justice and equality, not fear and control. The Centauri delegate tried a different approach. Surely we can reach some arrangement. Reparations, perhaps? We could help rebuild Earth. Earth is already being rebuilt, Jack said. We don't need your help. We've developed terraforming technology that can restore our world in decades, not centuries. This announcement caused another wave of shock. Terraforming on that scale was supposed to be impossible. How? Zartek asked, genuinely curious, despite his fear. When you're facing extinction, you get creative, Patricia answered. We had some of the best scientists in the galaxy. When Earth fell, they didn't give up. They worked harder. They thought of solutions no one else would consider. Turns out spite is an excellent motivator for innovation. On the USS Phoenix, Captain Daniel White was meeting with a group of younger Council species representatives who had requested asylum. They were members of their species who had opposed the genocide but had been overruled. We tried to stop it, a young Altarian said, her light dim with shame. But the old guard wouldn't listen. They were terrified of change, terrified of losing power. Daniel listened carefully. Why didn't you warn us? They would have killed us, a Vegan youth answered. My parent tried to send a warning. They were executed for treason. This was new information. Daniel immediately forwarded it to Admiral Walker. There had been those who tried to help humanity, who had opposed the genocide. They had paid with their lives. Back in the Council chambers, Jack was laying out the terms for the trials. Every species that voted for our extermination will provide defendants, he said. The trials will be fair. You'll have representation. You can present your defense. But the evidence will be shown, and justice will be served. What about those who abstained? Asked a representative from one of the smaller species. Those who abstained will be witnesses, Jack replied. You didn't vote to kill us, but you didn't vote to save us either. You'll need to explain why you stood by and did nothing while genocide was being planned. The reality of the situation was sinking in. The council that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was about to be put on trial by a species they had tried to exterminate. You said you found everything in the Zarathi databases, Zartek said slowly. Did you find the contingency plans? Jack's eyes narrowed. What contingency plans? Zartek's scales rippled. The plans for if you survived. The council knew there was a small chance some humans might escape. We prepared for that possibility. Patricia quickly searched through the files. She found them within moments. Her expression grew even harder as she read. Bioweapons, she said out loud. You prepared bioweapons specifically designed to kill humans. You had them ready to deploy if any of us were found. The human officers on screen all turned to look at the council, representatives with expressions of disgust. You weren't content with just destroying our world, Jack said quietly. You wanted to make sure we could never come back. You wanted to erase us completely. It was a precaution, Zartek said weakly. It was evil, Jack replied. And it's going to be Exhibit 1 in your trial. Lieutenant Paul Rodriguez had been checking something on his console. Captain, I'm detecting weapons signatures on 3 council worlds. They're activating the bioweapons. Jack's expression didn't change. Destroy them. 3 human ships fired simultaneously. The bioweapon facilities on 3 different planets were vaporized instantly. The weapons were gone before they could be deployed. That was your last mistake, Jack told the council. You just tried to commit genocide again even after being caught. That's going to make the trials very short. The council members looked at each other in defeat. They had played their last card and lost. The humans were prepared for everything. The trials begin in 1 week, Jack announced. Use that time to prepare your defense. Though I don't think any defense can justify the murder of 15 billion innocent people. As the transmission ended, the council members sat in silence. They had ruled the galaxy through fear and control. Now they were going to face something they had never expected, justice delivered by the very species they had tried to destroy. The revelation of the council's crimes had changed everything. The galaxy was about to learn that those they had trusted to protect them were capable of the greatest evil. And they were about to learn that humans, the species they had been told were monsters, were capable of the greatest mercy. 6 months had passed since humanity returned from the edge of extinction. The galaxy had changed completely in that time. The Great Trial Station orbited in neutral space, built by human engineers in just 3 weeks. It was a massive structure that could hold millions of observers, with courtrooms that broadcast to every inhabited world. Captain Jack Morrison stood in what had once been the Galactic Council's grand chamber. The ornate decorations were gone now, replaced with something more meaningful. The walls displayed the names of every human who had died in the genocide. 15 billion names in letters of light, a memorial that would never be forgotten. Hi, Chancellor Zartek stood beside him in magnetic restraints. The former leader of the galaxy looked smaller now, defeated. His scales had lost their shine, and his 6 legs moved slowly. You know what the truly tragic part is? Jack said, looking at the names on the walls. We would have been your greatest allies. Humans have this thing about protecting the weak, about standing up to bullies. We could have helped you build something amazing. Zartek was quiet for a fraction. We were afraid. Your species advanced too quickly. You adapted to everything. You thrived where others died. We had ruled for 10,000 years and you would have surpassed us in less than 200. So you decided to kill us all, Jack said. Men, women, children, entire families wiped out because you were afraid of competition. Commander Lisa, Grant entered the chamber carrying a data pad. Captain, the colony ships are ready. 12 million human survivors have been gathered from across the galaxy. They're going home. Home? Zartek asked, confused. But Earth is dead. We made sure of that. Jack smiled for the first time in the conversation. Earth is being restored. Our terraforming ships have been working for 3 months now. The oceans are returning. The atmosphere is clearing. In 5 years, Earth will be green again. Impossible, Zartek said. Terraforming takes centuries. For you, maybe, Lisa replied. But humans are very good at doing the impossible, especially when we're motivated by spite. Lieutenant Paul Rodriguez approached with a communication device. Captain, transmission from the USS Phoenix. Commander Betty Ross reports that the Mars shipyards are fully operational. The new fleet will be ready within the year. Zartek's eyes widened. A year. It takes us decades to build a fleet. That's because you build ships the same way you've built them for thousands of years. Jack explained. We innovate. We improve. We find better ways. While we were hiding, we weren't just surviving. We were learning from every species we encountered. We took the best of everyone's technology and made it better. Admiral Patricia Walker entered the chamber. Her presence still commanded immediate respect even from the prisoners. The reformation of the Galactic Council is complete, Captain. The new charter has been signed by all remaining members. What are the terms? Zartek asked. Simple, Patricia replied. No species shall attempt genocide against another. Any aggression will be met with a unified response. Humans will serve as peacekeepers for the next 100 cycles, until trust can be rebuilt. And if someone breaks these rules? Jack looked out at the stars through the chamber's transparent dome. Then they'll learn what humans learned in our darkest hour. Sometimes survival requires you to become the very thing your enemies fear most. We became death itself. And we walked out of our grave to remind the galaxy that some species are too stubborn to die. In the trial station, the proceedings were coming to an end. For 6 months, evidence had been presented. The galaxy had watched in horror as the full extent of the Council's crimes was revealed. Not just the genocide of humanity, but centuries of oppression against smaller species, hidden wars, and covered-up atrocities. The Zarathi leadership had been convicted first. Krextor and his officers were sentenced to life imprisonment on a prison world where they would work to grow food for the species they had tried to destroy. It was poetic justice. They would spend their lives helping to feed human colonists. The council members had various sentences. Those who had actively participated in planning the genocide received the harshest punishments. Those who had abstained were given community service, teaching the next generation about the dangers of standing by while evil happens. But the most surprising part of the trials was the mercy shown by the humans. There were no executions, no torture, no revenge, just justice, fair and measured. Captain Daniel White stood before a group of young aliens from various species. They were the next generation of leaders, chosen to help rebuild the galactic government. "Why didn't you destroy us?" a young Altarian asked. "After what we did, no one would have blamed you." Daniel thought about his answer carefully. "Because that would have made us like you. We've seen what happens when fear drives decisions. We've seen what happens when you choose the easy path of violence over the hard path of justice." A young Vegan raised one of her leaf-like appendages. "But how can you forgive us?" "We don't forgive," Daniel said honestly. "We'll never forget what was done to Earth, but we can choose not to repeat the cycle. We can choose to be better." Susan Baker added, "Besides, destroying you would have been easy. Rebuilding the galaxy into something better? That's the real challenge, and humans have always liked challenges." On Earth, the restoration was ahead of schedule. The human terraforming technology had shocked everyone, including the humans' own scientists. It turned out that when you combined human ingenuity with alien technology and a burning desire to restore your home, miracles could happen. Commander Kyle Johnson stood on what had once been the site of New York City. Now it was bare earth, but already green shoots were beginning to appear. The terraforming machines had reintroduced bacteria and simple plants. Life was returning. Private Helen Martinez stood beside him. "It's beautiful, sir. Even like this, it's beautiful." "It'll be more beautiful when the cities are rebuilt," Kyle said. "But we're going to do it right this time. We're going to build cities that harmony with nature, not against it." Private Joe Turner was scanning the horizon with binoculars. "Sir, I see ships approaching." Kyle looked up. Dozens of alien vessels were descending through the atmosphere, but these weren't warships. They were cargo vessels, and they were broadcasting peace signals. The lead ship landed nearby, and a group of young aliens emerged. They were from various species, including some whose parents had voted for humanity's extinction. They approached, the humans carefully, respectfully. "We've brought supplies," their leader, a young Centauri, said. "Food, medicine, construction equipment. We know it doesn't make up for what was done, but we want to help rebuild." Kyle looked at Helen and Joe, then back at the aliens. "Why?" "Because the galaxy has been watching the trials," the Centauri replied. "We've seen how you treated your enemies with dignity. We've seen how you chose justice over revenge. We've learned that humans aren't the monsters our parents said you were. You're what we should aspire to be." As the months turned into years, the galaxy slowly healed. The new Galactic Council, with human advisors, created laws that protected all species equally. Trade resumed, but with fair practices. Wars ended as human peacekeeping forces intervened in conflicts, not with violence but with mediation. The human fleet continued to patrol the shipping lanes, protecting merchant vessels from pirates and ensuring safe passage for all. Their technology was so advanced that most conflicts ended before they began. The mere presence of a human ship was enough to stop most aggression. 5 years after the trials, Jack Morrison stood on Earth again. The planet was green and blue. Once more, cities were being built, carefully and thoughtfully. The human population was growing as survivors returned home and new children were born. Lisa Grant stood beside him, "We did it, Jack. We brought them home." "We did more than that," Jack replied. "We changed the galaxy. We showed them there's another way." "Do you think it will last?" Lisa asked. Jack watched as a mixed group of human and alien children played together in a park. They were laughing, running, being children without fear or hatred. "It'll last," he said, "because now everyone knows what happens when you choose genocide over coexistence. They know that humans will always return to stop it." Admiral Patricia Walker, now retired, had written a book about the experience. Its final paragraph became famous throughout the galaxy. The galaxy thought humans were myths, legends born from the fears of ancient civilizations. They learned too late that some myths are warnings and some legends are promises. Humanity returned not as conquerors, but as guardians. Guardians with very long memories and an absolute intolerance for genocide. In the end, the most terrifying thing about humans wasn't their weapons or their ships. It was their ability to choose mercy when every fiber of their being screamed for vengeance. That choice, that controlled fury, made them more powerful than any weapon ever could. The age of humanity's second dawn had begun. The galaxy had learned to cherish the light of human compassion rather than try to extinguish it. And in the vast darkness between the stars, human ships stood watch, ensuring that never again would a species face extinction while others stood by and watched. The stars belonged to everyone now, protected by those who had once lost everything and chose to build rather than destroy. The humans had returned, and with them came hope for a better future.